where the wrestling truth resides.
I have a weird tangent that I wanted to go on tonight.
Go for it.
I like tangents.
What so I feel like and it's because I'm constantly watching wrestling stuff, and but I feel like we've never, and maybe we have, and I just don't remember because I tend to get drunk on these pods because it's the only way I deal with you fuckers. But what is the Purr Sessions Mount Rushmore?
What do you mean?
Like what is our collective Mount Rushmore? If we as a collective had to choose 4 or 5, how many faces are on Mount Rushmore?
4.
So if we as a collective had to choose 4 to go on the Purr Sessions Mount Rushmore, who do we volunteer? Because I feel like this is one of those questions. Like, I purposely left it out of the Levi Spade interview segment because it's such a fucking, like, it's a question that gets asked on every single goddamn wrestling podcast. But I feel like we have never actually talked about it.
So again, what do you mean, like wrestlers that we believe that are like the best of all time?
Yeah, your Mount Rushmore. What is it? But can we? I wonder if we can come to some sort of collective to make the Purr Sessions Mount Rushmore. Like if we collectively had to choose 4, who would we nominate? Why? And who do we put on the Mount Rushmore?
Well, Austin's first.
Hang on. Is this strictly opinion based, like per each of us, or is it just if we say a name, someone could just be like, "You're wrong"?
I think it's a conversation. I want to see if we can come up with 4 that we mutually can all agree go on the Rushmore, because another reason why I hate this question is because for me there are like 16,000 different Mount Rushmores.
Right?
Yeah, you want Mount Rushmore WWE.
I think the question should be, what is each one of our own personal Mount Rushmores, and then see if there's any comparisons.
Okay, so let's do
different than like Andy's. Probably.
So let's do that. Let's decide on what is everybody's Mount Rushmore, and then maybe we can take, because there's 4 of us, so there we go. We could take 1 from each of us and then make the Purr Sessions Mount Rushmore.
So here's the funny thing too, like JP said, it's like, so when it comes to your Mount Rushmore, like for me, there's like a singles Mount Rushmore, and then there's a tag Mount Rushmore, and that's so you got both these things together. But if I gotta go singles, I gotta agree with Big Cat, Austin.
He's been like the number 1. He's literally the GOAT of wrestling.
So I feel like right off the bat we can toss Austin on the Purr Sessions Mount Rushmore because I agree with that. He's got spot on mine.
Yeah, he's literally changed the business, and he basically made WWE what it is.
One of the greatest wrestlers of all time, in my opinion, is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Yep, I would agree with that.
I got to go with the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
I can agree with that.
And
I have a tangent about Ric Flair. I don't know if you pulled that up.
This is my personal one, and I got to go Sting.
Okay.
Yeah, those would be my WCW. Yeah, I can understand that one. Well, I mean, Austin, I agree with. All time, it would be Sean. I'm just trying to think of people who changed the business.
You could also throw Undertaker up there. You
Taker is a big one.
Punk up there. You could also throw Bret Hart up there. If you want to go older, Harley Race, Nick Bockwinkel. I mean,
Harley Race definitely would be like, because again, like even Jerry Lawler, fucking
Fear the King Lawler.
Yeah.
I think an easier way to answer that question is take 4 eras, because realistically, if you look at it, you have about 4 distinctive eras in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
You have the golden era, you have the attitude era, you have the ruthless aggression era, you have whatever the hell era between that and now. Like, that's very questionable. But
the PG era tends to be whatever
you calls it. You could take one name from the 4 of those, and I think collectively all of us could agree on that one Mount Rushmore.
But then we got, then you got like, yeah, we all watched WCW and WWE back in the day. Well, what about like New Japan? What about TNA? What about,
See this, but this is why I want to have the conversation.
Yeah, like if I made Mount Rushmore be an indie Mount Rushmore, and to be honest, it might be like a more deathmatch themed Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Well, the problem with me is like I don't know too much about TNA and New Japan. Like definitely not a lot of New Japan, but I know definitely there's a lot of guys that made that business that I just don't know 100%. But if we're talking like WWE wise, yeah, definitely Austin would be number one for me. I like maybe because I'm biased because I'm a fan of it with Punk, but the only reason why I say Punk is because how many guys have you known in the business that when left still got chanted to come back?
Yeah.
Like 6+ years they were still chanting for him to come back. Like that's unheard of. I think he even cut a promo, or somebody did, was saying like once you're gone, like you're just forgotten.
The fans
continue on
in their mouth just as much as people take those jabs between AEW and WWE.
Right. And it might have been more of the situation of what happened with Punk. Maybe that's why it continued on with the fans. But
it was more way before that, though.
Yeah,
it was so much more before.
That is true. Yeah. So I would do that, and then like it's hard because Ric Flair definitely had like a bunch of change of the business.
He's fuck Ric Flair,
Fuck Hulk Hogan. I don't give a shit what you say.
I mean, the worst part is, yes, our personal opinions on Hogan, especially like the modern Hogan, fuck the guy. But if you want to go business changer, Hogan is one of those guys that changed the business.
That is true.
I mean, this is why
the business is what I mean.
You're gonna look at it from a wrestling perspective.
This is what I mean. This is why I don't like this question, but I wanted to pose it tonight because, I agree with JP. Like, I love hardcore wrestling too. I don't do it, but I love deathmatch wrestling too. Like Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, Onita. And probably, honestly, if I had to do more of a newer gen, Tremont, you have to put Tremont on it if you're gonna do a newer gen. But then you got Nick Gage, New Jack.
So in my sense,
John Moxley,
it would be, if it was an all around in that scenario, I would have it really as Mick Foley, New Jack, Nick Gage, and Tremont. That would be my Mount Rushmore.
See, I would switch. Onita's probably the only one I would switch out. The only reason I would have to have Onita on there is because Onita kind of revolutionized the hardcore. As fucking crazy as he was, he revolutionized it. But if I had to switch Onita out, it would be New Jack. So it would be Cactus, New Jack, Terry.
New Jack was more of the New Jack was the definition of, you could be a technical wrestler and have a hardcore match, but still make it look like a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Whereas, like with Onita, it was like, I'm going to hit you with this explosive, and everyone's going to die.
Yep.
So, like, that's a perfect wide range there between the two, but they all both come together and they all share the same similar style of wrestling.
Yeah, but see, so for mine, if I had to go with business changers, Austin is definitely up there. So I feel like Austin's the only one that we all simultaneously agree on. But for me, the Great Muda. I mean, I feel Muda, I feel like you said Sting, I say Muda. Kind of the same. They're kind of the same.
I immediately think of Sasuke in his suit after you said Muda.
So Austin, Muda,
Sasuke, yeah.
Misawa.
Yeah.
Misawa has to be up there. I'm sorry, but that dude lived and died for the business, and that dude was the most over person I have ever fucking seen. I've seen clips of every person under the sun. Misawa is so fucking over, it is ridiculous. So I would put Misawa on my Mount Rushmore because he revolutionized Japanese wrestling. And I don't know, the last spot for me would probably if I had to take a new generation, I feel like I'm biased kind of like you are with Punk Cat. If I had to take a newer generation, I'd put Balor on that list because Balor is a multi-time champ all across the fucking world. That man, like, he was part of the revolution that made it so guys like me could perform in the business. But then at the same, you could also put Brian in place of Balor, because Brian was the be-all, end-all of guys my size that revolutionized the business.
Freaking yes movement, man.
Yeah, so it's like, but like for me, Austin, Masawa, Muda, and I mean any of those guys, if I had to settle on one, I would say Bray, because
respect.
kind of like how you were just saying with New Jack, but Bray was the definition of you could play and you could work such an outlandish gimmick.
It was character,
but still be one of the best actual in-ring workers that the company had at the time.
Bray had the character and then backed it up with the wrestling. New Jack had the hardcore extreme persona, but had the wrestling to
exactly.
Yeah,
all those people that you can take with that all had that wrestling background. Like, and then Brian, he had that you don't look like a wrestler perspective, and then
but he could out wrestle anybody. It was kind of the same way with I mean, not to give Dylan a hard on, but it's kind of the same way with Taz.
Yeah.
Like that's why like nobody wanted to take the chance on Taz until Heyman reinvented him, because Taz was like, oh yeah, they don't want me because I'm 4'7" and I'm 200.
He was 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah, but like
speaking of that,
I meant to say 5'7", but I said 4'7". But
speaking of that too,
I'm 5'6", but I'm 200 something pounds. I don't look like a wrestler. And Heyman's, okay, but what can you do? And Taz, so I could fucking choke out anybody in your locker room because I'm a legitimate fucking he's a legitimate fucking threat. And
like I can throw a motherfucker.
And Heyman's like, cool, that's what you do. It's kind of the same way with Joe. Like Joe, Joe don't look like a wrestler. Joe's the same kind of. Joe is kind of the modern day Taz in my opinion. Like, Joe, what can you do? I can fucking knock out
muscle buster.
But you're talking about like small guys, and that reminded me. I can't believe I didn't think of this. Fucking Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Yep. Guerrero.
Yeah. Fucking definitely up there.
I feel like Guerrero. I feel like Guerrero gets a lot of credit, but I don't know. I love Eddie Guerrero. He's awesome, but I feel like he, in some people's opinions, and I've heard it before, he's the first small guy to ever wrestle. Like he was the start of the small guy movement, and I'm like, Eddie was not that small.
He made himself look bigger than obviously like he was.
He got jacked up, but he was only 5'6".
Yeah.
But like at that point you had already had guys like Mysterio, and I mean we were just talking about Mysterio Senior. Like at that point you had already had guys that were smaller. You had guys that were on the smaller side.
Right.
Yeah, but did they, put an impact in like Eddie Guerrero did? Like,
I mean, Rey Mysterio still to this day is going. So yeah.
Yeah, but would you put Rey Mysterio on that Mount Rushmore?
Depends on what Mount Rushmore. I wouldn't put him on my main Mount Rushmore, but he definitely would go on. If I had to make a Mount Rushmore of small guys, yeah. It'd be Mysterio, Tiger Mask, Guerrero, and probably Brian. That would be my Rushmore of small guys, like guys my size.
I didn't see Finn on there.
No, because that's the thing is I would 100% switch Brian for Finn, but Brian I feel like got his break sooner than Finn did. And because of it, more people associate Brian with the small guy revolution. Because I personally, I put Balor on there, but that's also because I am a wrestling nerd and have looked at all of what Balor has done in his career, because he's one of my biggest inspirations. So I would put Balor on there because Balor formed the Bullet Club. Balor revolutionized Japanese wrestling in the sense that when he came over to the States, more eyes went back over to watch Japanese wrestling because of the Bullet Club.
Yeah, that's true.
But then Styles is another one that you could put on there. Styles' time is in TNA and ROH are still talked about to this day as some of the greatest. Punk, you could put Punk on there, but I feel like Brian got his break sooner, so Brian became the face of the small guy movement. I would do Tiger, Ray, Eddie, and Finn. That would be my Rushmore of small wrestlers.
Okay. Yeah. Good conversation. There you go.